All right, I'm going to answer CJ's question first. CJ asked about putting the shade netting 10 feet in the air instead of my way, which I like to have it down about chest high. So that I like it chest high because if in Michigan it's extremely cloudy sometimes, and with the sun shadings, you need 50% of the sun's intensity for 100% production. So say I'm using a 30% netting, we get some extremely cloudy weather and I feel like we're losing 50% of our sun, then I'm thinking, okay, I want to peel this shade netting back so I can let all the sun in so I don't lose. If I'm pacing a pumpkin at 30 pounds a day, I don't want that to drop due to lack of sunshine. So I want to slide it back. I want it down low. If I'm going to water, use overhead sprinklers, I slide it back. It doesn't take 5 minutes to slide that back on top of the cables or ropes attached to your T-post. You can just walk on your walk boards and slide it back. If it's 10 feet in the air, I probably lose that option. So that's why I don't do it. But if you want to, if you're in a really sunny location, say you're in Texas and it's sunny 90% of the time, then yeah, go for it. Put it 10 feet in the air. I don't know how, because you won't be able to slide it back as easy unless you can come up with a way to do that. But don't shoot yourself in the foot. When I say putting up shade netting 24/7, you may still need to move it. The weather's very unpredictable in the north. I'm not 100% positive about some of your southern locations that may stay sunny. The West Coast sometimes just stays sunny forever. So, all right, just wanted to add that. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. Hey, the next set video here, I'm going to carry on for 12 minutes. I got a lot of good information in there. I jump around a little bit, some good tips about cucumber beetles and stuff like that. You got to stay proactive. Sparrows flying in and biting holes in your leaves. That's another topic we can talk about. I think I learned in that I need to spray earlier on, like early June. I need to spray for bugs so the sparrows won't come in and they will try to eat and poke holes in your leaves and get bugs. And I don't like spraying until I have to, but I think in some cases I need to spray a little earlier. I've learned that over the years. If you go out there and look at your plants and it looks like somebody took a shotgun and shot holes in the leaves, it may very well be sparrows. All right, so post your comments below. I'm going to go ahead and talk more about the shade netting. Thanks, CJ, for posting your question about, hey, how about if I put the shade netting 10 feet in the air? I did answer in your comments section. Keep the questions going. Really like how this is working out. All right, please join us for the rest of the video. All right, so I'd like to start out with a couple of questions. Here's a comment was left in the last video. Thank you, Mark, for sharing your wisdom. I always look forward to your videos. In one of the future videos, please, your thoughts on airflow, when, where, and how to block strong winds as well. When and where and how to use fans to increase airflow. Well, I'll talk today a little bit about using shade netting. If you are shade netting, shade cloth, if you're going to build a hoop house, now the shade nettings and shade cloths is one thing to string that over your plants outside. That's a great thing to do. Great thing to do. But if you're going to build a hoop house, you need to have good airflow. So what I recommend is, that you build, I wouldn't build a hoop house wider than 32 feet. If it's your first time, I see some people wanting to build them, 80 feet wide, 60 feet wide, extremely wide. The wider they are, the harder it is going to be to support the middle. The more apt they're going to come down in a storm. When they're 30 feet wide, if you make it like 30 feet by, let's say 60 feet long, there's 1,800 square feet. 32 feet wide is ideal. Not only does that work good for the hoops that you buy, you can buy hoops in 10-foot sections, connect them together, and make your hoop. That works out quite well for that. But not getting too wide is easier to keep it strong. You don't want to build them so strong that, I see some build them so strong like they're building a barn. They're building a barn, and if you do that and you put plastic on them, the plastic, the wind's going to either rip the plastic off of it, you're going to have a hard time keeping that on there. So the way I like to build a hoop house is to build it so it's like a shark absorber. It dances in wind, and it bounces back and forth, plastic hoops, and it has some flex in it. So rather than have the wind beating on a hard structure, it dances in wind like a shock absorber. We'll do more of that in future videos. But as far as airflow goes, yes. If you're growing inside a hoop house, you want good airflow. I recommend only growing the secondary vines to about a foot off the wall and then stopping them so that you have good air circulation around the perimeter. I don't recommend wrapping the perimeter of the skirt in plastic because you want better airflow down low. You'd be better off to use some of this insect screen. It's small enough that the insects can't get through it. Aphids, thrips, they can't get through this screen, which looks like a plastic unless you look at it closer. It is a screen that is much better to do that can breathe down low where your airflow is down to a minimum sometimes. If it's you don't have good airflow, you're not going to have good plant growth because the air flows over the leaf, creating a siphon to the root, drawing the water and nutrients out of the soil. So you need airflow. Airflow is key to healthy, good plants. So not to get too long-winded here, but I want to slow down and include as much information as I can on growing these plants, the screens, the nettings. I did look online, and you can find for $99, you can buy, let me look at my notes here. I had some notes here. A 20 by 48 shade netting, 20 by 48 shade netting for $99. Now that's a nice piece. That's a nice big piece. A couple of those could do a whole plant, a big plant. So you got your shade netting, a 10 by 20, you can buy 10 by 20 shade netting for $35 on Amazon. You go on Amazon and just type in shade netting, 40%, 30%, and you'll pull it up. And you'll see for yourself the prices. You can spend a couple $100 and have enough shade netting for a couple plants. Pretty good deal. Other things I want to touch base here on. So maybe we can get Ryan Cleveland, if you're on here, could you share your link? Where's the last place you bought your screen, your insect screen, if you're looking to build a hoop house? One thing I wanted to strongly suggest to people is if you haven't got your soil to a premium level that you think is just awesome, I would not build a hoop house. I would wait until you got that soil rocking, because without good rocking soil, the hoop house isn't going to do you that much good. If your soil's not really loose, like if you have a lot of hard clay, you need to break down that hard clay. Clay is loaded with nutrients, just packed with nutrients, but it's hard, does not allow good root growth, so therefore it's not great to grow in. So I broke down a lot of my clay over the years using sand. Just buying 5 yards of sand and dumping it and tilling it in and then having it plowed. Find somebody with a 12-inch plow. It is very important. Get in there, plow your garden, turn it over 12 inches. Turn that all over. And then the next year, add the sand again, till that in again. Do that 2-3 years in a row. Get your soil really good. If you can afford the perlite, you can go buy big bags of perlite. Wholesale, a couple $100 a bag for, I believe it's 70 cubic feet in a bag for about $70, $75. If you're over in the Green Bay area, there's a perlite place there. You can buy it. You have to check around. Ohio, I know there's one in Ohio where you can buy perlite wholesale right from the manufacturer. That's the way to go. Get your soil tweaked before you build a hoop house, because a hoop house is not going to do it. It's not the key answer if your soil's not tweaked and loose and just good drainage and just rocking and doing, you can always grow in, and you can grow in sand, pure sand, because growing in pure sand, you can add the nutrients to the waterings. But you need loose. What you really need is loose. So with the shade nettings, the more talk on that, sharing some links. You can get them on Amazon, get them on eBay. Maybe we'll get Ryan Cleveland or Phil Groenwald. If you're on here, please share your link where you purchase your shade cloths. All right, just a reminder there. Don't forget the 1911 Arena. For everybody that shares the videos from now till April is going to be entered. And the more you share it, the more comments you make, the better your odds. Because I'm going to go through there and it's going to be a random deal, but I'm going to go by how many comments you've left, how many times you've shared the video, and that's going to get you a better draw. And I'm going to, don't tell Josiah, but I'm going to either get into my stash and we're going to give away a couple of his seeds, or I'm going to twist his arm, which I don't think would be too hard to get him to give up a couple seeds for the drawing April 1st. All right, so there you go, a couple of Brandt's great seeds. and keep them growing. But also, I wanted to switch back and talk about plant size. The plant size, if you're thinking, hey, you know, what's the best plant size? Josiah grows monsters on 600 square feet. But you know what? Josiah has really got it dialed in. He's got the ultimate house. He's got this thing figured out. So, you know, for him, he grows between 1,700 and 2,100 pound pumpkins, you know, religiously. Just like one person said, he was the Tom Brady of growing pumpkins. He's consistent. He's very consistent at those big numbers. He's been to New York. He's been to the Botanical Gardens. Him and Ronnie Wallace and Tanner, they went to New York one year when I think Josiah was second or third. I think he was second, number 2 in the world that year. Ronnie Wallace was number 1. And I believe the 2145 McMullen, that was 2015, I believe, when the 2145 McMullen was grown. So there you go. So the plant size, getting back to plant size, I like to keep the videos not too long-winded, but I know you guys like all the information. I'm sharing my 25 years of growing pumpkins with you. I've learned by my mistakes. That's what it really is learning by your mistakes. I remember back in the 90s, I'd have plants that the pumpkins would get 300-400 pounds and abort. And back then, now that I look back, hindsight being 2020, I can see I had yellow vine disease. At the time, I had no idea what it was. So a lot of things you need to do: eradicate the weeds around your garden. Weeds are a terrible thing for insects to breed in, and disease, and bring in the cucumber beetles. Another thing I wanted to share with people with your plants: when your plants are little, go out every day and look under the little cots, the 2 little cotyledons that start the plant out. Look under them cotyledons every day, because that's where the cucumber beetles are first going to appear. In the north up here, they show up the end of May, 1st of June, and you want to be out there with the 7 dust and the sprays on day 1 when the cucumber beetles show up. All right, that's a biggie. You don't want to wait till the plant's infested. If the cucumber beetles have been there for a week and they've had their wild cucumber beetle orgies all over your plant, it's probably too late. They've already infected the plant with a bacteria wilt and other things that they spread around. So just keep that in mind. But back to plant size, the reason for 600 square foot plant like Josiah, keeping a healthy plant all year, that's great size. For the rest of us growing outside, when I grew my 2043, all right, we got to September, first week of September, and I realized the first half of the plant was toast. It was gone. I went out and pulled up the taproots on the bottom of every leaf was pretty much gone on the first half. My pitchfork of the plant was still healthy and vibrant, and that's what put the last 200 pounds on that pumpkin, was the pitchfork and the young 600 square feet of the plant. I had lost the old 600. It was dead, gone, exhausted, was doing very little. Probably the energy that first 600 square foot of plant was generating, what was left in energy that it would generate come September, it was just probably healing itself from the bad leaves. Because once a leaf is bad, Joe Altz was discussing that once a leaf's like 75% damaged, it's probably going to spend more time trying to heal itself and repair itself than it is adding energy to your fruit. So you might as well cut it off. So at that point, I had realized, hey, what's the issue here? Now that I see what Steve Delitis has taught us, it was overwatering of the old half of the plant. So I would say with plant size, you're growing that big plant, I would cut back on the water on the old half of the plant about the 1st of August in the north. And depending on the weather and temperature, condition of the leaves, you can tell when they're starting to look weathered, when they're 25% gone, the older leaves, time to start backing off on the water. That the plant's going to use less water, therefore it needs less water, so back off. But it's a visual thing. You're going to have to judge it as you go. A moisture meter, Steve Delitis used moisture meters. What you may want to do is check out, I'll link this back to Bubba's moisture meter. You can use just about anything you want. A tube of caulk, bury a tube of caulk, an empty tube in the ground. Well, it could be a full tube if you want to waste your caulk, but bury a tube of caulk in the ground early on in the season. And you can pull that tube out and then stick your finger in there and see what your moisture is. If you don't have the money to spend on electronic moisture meters, which I never really liked anyways, I didn't really trust them. I like to see for myself. Like Quinn Werner always says, stick your finger in the soil, check for moisture. Keep your moisture level where it's at. So in order, the whole thing with a bigger plant is you want to get to September and have some healthy, that old part of the plant still healthy enough to produce and help put towards the fruit, not just healing its old beat up vines and leaves. So therefore, another question to answer here, Jim from Texas asked about the stump. Yeah, isn't the stump the biggest part of the plant? No, it's not. For you new growers, that stump, that if you pull out of the ground at the end of the season, looks like an octopus with all those big roots as big around as my thumb. That is not. By mid-season, when your plant is full grown, by mid-July, your plant should be fully grown. Okay, that stump and octopus is now only like 20 to 25% of your plant. And even though those roots go way out there, the leaves that are all rooted in, every leaf is taprooted in, that has now become 75% of your plant. That's why so many people have lost a stump, and the pumpkin still continues to grow 10 to 15 pounds a day with no stump, because the stump is only 25% of the plant. So therefore, you're not just hammering around that stump area with all the waterings and all the nutrients, you're watering the entire plant. If you have an 800 square foot plant, you're watering and nutrients the entire 800 square foot. Same with the shade netting, you want to shade net the entire 800 square foot, cooling the entire environment. And if you can, a little beyond even helps, because the heat in the ground is just going to transfer back to the plant. So if you can shade beyond the perimeter, that's gold. That's gold. But work on your soil. Get your soil right before you build a hoop house. That would be my suggestion. All right, I'm going to cut this video off. It's getting a little long. Please post your questions below. All right, thanks for joining us today. Post your questions below, your comments. We're going to give away seeds April 1st. Looking forward to your comments and questions. All right, remember, keep it a secret, but go tell a friend. Bubba's sharing giant pumpkin information that can be used on all plants at Keep It a Secret Home and Garden. Keep it a secret, but go tell a friend. Just a little pointer here. I'm rebuilding your soil. If you don't think you're ready for a hoop house and you're still working on your soil, Dairy Do in Sears, Michigan. If you're in Michigan or even Ohio, don't mind taking the drive up. They have really great prices. I just discovered that in their soil conditioners, they have perlite. You can get a 60 cubic foot bag of perlite for $185. All right, I just called them on the phone, got a quoted price. That's a really good price. I bought it directly from the manufacturer. Actually, I bought it off a semi-truck, buying it wholesale, and I paid like $150 a bag at wholesale for a 70 cubic foot bag. Now that was a steal, but this is great pricing. Great pricing at Dairy Do. That's just a little over wholesale prices on this stuff. So hey, I highly recommend check out Dairy Do in Sears, Michigan. Great products. All right, keep them growing.